Okay, welcome back. So we're exhausted.
Yeah.
From all the Rex chat. There's been a couple of other big stories of the week. What are we chatting about next, Jake?
So moving on from Rex news, do want to quickly give condolences to the community at Canberra Airport on the passing of Terry Snow, the owner of Canberra Airport. He announced in May that he was sort of stepping back after 26 years, and he has passed away this week from natural causes. So our condolences to the family of Terry Snow and to everyone who knew him at Canberra Airport. You know, by all accounts, he seemed like a really great guy. You know, a philanthropist, and he did transform Canberra Airport from what was a tin shed in the late 90s to a really
arguably the best airport in the country.
Yeah, you could say that. Farewell to Terry Snow, and here's to hoping that Canberra Airport continues to build upon the foundations that he laid down.
An absolute legend. I'm sure they'll do something to commemorate him further down the line. Okay, what's up next, Jake?
So up next, on the subject of airports, we have had some data come in from smaller airports. I say smaller. I'm talking Adelaide and Launceston. So they are, not huge major gateways, but they are
decent airports,
decently
honest,
sized
hard-working airports.
Smaller.
Yes.
But both of them in the 2023-24 financial year have exceeded their pre-COVID-19 passenger capacities. Now, this comes as the four major gateways. Only one of them is back above pre-COVID levels. That is Perth, with Sydney, Melbourne and Brisbane still in the mid-90s of their total capacity.
I wouldn't say Perth doesn't count, but Perth has all of those fly-in, fly-out flights, yes, which kind of skews things a little bit.
Yeah, so Adelaide saw 7.6 million domestic, 960,000 international passengers in the 2024 financial year. So, more than 8.5 million passengers, which is 10,000 or so higher than financial year 2019 pre-COVID. Launceston saw its busiest 12-month period on record, more than 1.4 million passengers, and that was up 10% on the same time last year. So this Adelaide and Launceston now sort of alongside Gold Coast Airport, they're in the breaking pre-COVID levels club.
Have you ever been to Adelaide?
I haven't, no.
I've been to Adelaide once and had a bad experience. Not aviation related, but I'm going to talk about it briefly. So I went to Adelaide, and it was actually a few days before a event I was going to for work. So what I said was, you book the flight and I'll sort out my own accommodation. And I went to this hotel, it was like a motel in the city centre. Not the most expensive one they did, but also not the cheapest one. Anyway, I went to check in, and it was like a dungeon. It was the most dark, disgusting, vile. I've stayed in much better youth hostels. It was horrible. Anyway, I went up there, and my room was like a prison. But I thought, you know what, it's only for a couple of nights. It's centrally located. Next night, I got back in there, and I went to charge my phone, and phone wasn't working. The charger wasn't working. So I called up reception, and I said, I think somebody might need to flip the switch in the fuse box, turn the power on. And next thing you know, somebody came up and did it. Sparks flew out of all the plugs, all of them. Just literally it was just flying everywhere. I
mean, that's how you know they've turned them on, isn't it?
Well, yeah. And then my kettle caught fire. There's people may know I've always got a cup of tea with me.
As a British man, that must have been the...
Yeah, I thought that would kill me. So the kettle goes up in flames, and I thought, what an ironic death. So I take the kettle, I throw it on the floor, probably not the best thing to do. So there's flames everywhere. So I run out of the room screaming, as you can imagine. It wasn't a pretty sight. Anyway, they came out, they put they stopped the sparks coming off. And then they said to me, would you like us to put you in another room? And I was like, no, I want my money back. And I ran out and took myself somewhere else. And the point is, I've had a bad experience with Adelaide. So if you are from Adelaide, great city, I'm sure. You want to fly me to Adelaide, you want to put me up in Adelaide, then I can make my own informed opinion on Adelaide. But at the moment, I'm not a huge fan.
So is Adelaide to you? Is Adelaide your Gold Coast?
Yeah, it's exactly. I've had a bad experience. And there are some parts of the city that are very nice, but, you know, a decent airport as well, I should say. But if you are from the Adelaide Tourism, I don't know if there's an Adelaide Tourism Board.
Probably just Tourism South Australia.
All right, yeah. So if you're from Tourism South Australia, you've got, in me, I'd like to think, an extremely influential travel writer who has been scorned by your city. Time to make it right.
But to the airports, Adelaide and Launceston, congratulations.
Bit of a tangent there.
Adelaide Airport, I presume, not responsible for Adam almost dying.
I can't hold that against them or their senior management. You're in the clear.
Speaking of senior management and being held responsible for things, we have some news out of the US with a new CEO being tipped to lead Boeing. Now, this is Robert K. Kelly Ortberg.
It's a long name, isn't it?
It's a good name. Kelly Ortberg is going to replace Dave Calhoun, the current CEO, after Calhoun announced his exit in March. He's starting as Boeing president and CEO this week. Ortberg has this an engineering background, which is good. We like engineers running Boeing.
Yeah.
Over 35 years of aerospace experience. So he's worked at Texas Instruments, Rockwell Collins, RTX. He was the former chair of the Aerospace Industries Association Board of Governors. So you'd have to think he knows his stuff.
They put the nerds back in charge. So the context, and I'm sure Jake will talk about this a bit more, the accusation at Boeing has been that whereas for many decades it had a reputation for, technical excellence and sort of almost nerdetry. What happened is over time, the engineers were shown the door and the money men started to take over. And essentially the company has been led by profit rather than led by innovation. And so it's surely, Jake, not an accident that they have put an engineer, and maybe for a short back, but they have put an engineer in charge. This will alleviate a lot of the criticism, I would imagine, that they've been getting.
Fingers crossed. I will say, one note of caution is that Dennis Muhlenberg, who was the CEO of Boeing before Dave Calhoun, was an engineer. He was from an engineering background, and he was in charge during the whole 737 MAX fiasco. He was in charge in 2018, 2019, when those two 737 MAX planes went down. So hopefully this new engineer CEO doesn't go the same way as the old engineer CEO, but you have to think it's a promising sign.
It is a promising sign. It does sound like they're listening to some of that criticism. He's got a very, very, very big job on his hands because, when we talk about culture, and the accusation, I should say, at Boeing in the US is that the culture was one that didn't take safety seriously enough. And obviously this has been reignited by the door plug, effectively the door blowing off a flight mid-air. So the argument is that there's no one particular part of the process that's gone wrong, but there is a lax culture, or there's a culture of not caring. Changing a culture is a very difficult thing to do. It's not something that he can do overnight. So he's in this monumentally difficult position of one, having to oversee the culture or change the culture, but also having to do that while they're making money. They're in a particularly tricky situation at the moment because they are being still, I believe, restricted from the amount of 737 MAXs that they can sell. They don't seem to be any close to actually releasing the 777X, which is going to be their next big flagship
the answer
aircraft.
to the A350.
Yeah, exactly. So they're now massively behind on that. So he's got
and the MAX 10, don't forget, still
not actually been certified, right?
Yeah.
So, and there's orders for that. Virgin have got some of those.
Virgin's ordered, I think, 25 of them.
Yeah, and they've not even been signed off.
Yeah, and Virgin's already been facing delays on its MAX 8s. I'm not sure. I can check if it's received its because there was one that was supposed to be coming, a 737 MAX 8, an eighth one that's been undergoing testing. So I'm just checking.
Jake's on Flight Radar right now.
I'm just checking now to see if they've got it.
This is breaking news. It's on Flight Radar. He's tracking the plane at the moment. Has Virgin got it?
No, still undergoing testing. It looks like the last flights recorded were at the end of July, and that was in Seattle. So
that's pretty good, though. That's journalism. We're not messing about here. He's going straight to the source.
I know my stuff, unless it relates to what you can shorten rugby league to, apparently. So Virgin's got 7 of its order of 14 MAX 8s at the moment. The 8th one is still, yet to arrive, and there's suggestions that, most of these won't arrive until next year, and Virgin needs these planes, which is one of the reasons why it's, reportedly, as we said last week, moved to snap up the leases on these Rex planes. So It's been tricky for Virgin. It's been tricky for airlines all over the world. I mean, it was played a role in the collapse of Bonza because Bonza was short of planes, and its parent company 777 Partners was continually diverting planes away from Bonza. From what we heard, there was planes that were supposed to go to Bonza that went to Flair. So the global shortage of planes is really biting. And Boeing needs to show that it can turn this all around and start, and demonstrate that it's taking safety seriously, demonstrate that it's no longer cutting corners, and that its planes are, good to fly and there won't be any more issues, so that the FAA can lift the cap on MAX production and they can finally start clearing this backlog.
So it's an extraordinarily difficult job that he's got. And just as on a tangent as well, the other issue they've got at the moment is they've got 2 astronauts stuck on the International Space Station still without a ride home.
Are they still up there?
They're still up there, yes. This is extraordinary. So the Starliner spacecraft, it was its first crewed flight. So it's done one flight before.
I'd say it was a crude flight if they're still stuck up there.
Yeah, well, so anyway, it was meant to take off, blast off. I think it was the start of May. It was delayed by, I think, 6 weeks. Finally blasted off. The plan was it goes up there, sticks itself on, not a technical phrase, onto the docks.
You are the editor of Space Connect, Adam.
We don't talk about it on that show. Ooh, no. What I do in my private life is my own business, Jake. So it docked with the International Space Station, and the plan was they spend a week on there, have a little look around, say hello to the other astronauts on there, pop on their spacecraft and go back home. They've been there now 2 months. And they've now given up. It was the case that they were going, they'll be back next week, they'll be back next week, they'll be back next week. But now they're not even saying that. Boeing are very angry at any suggestion that they are stranded on the International Space Station. May say that is complete, that is misinformation, that is wrong. It depends how you define stranded. They could get home technically by hitching a ride on a SpaceX spacecraft, which would be humiliating for Boeing. Though apparently, rumour has it they haven't got enough space suits on the International Space Station to get them back, because obviously you need a specific type of spacesuit for the spacecraft you're on. So there is sort of a way to get them back, but at the moment they've not certified Starliner to make that trip. There's all sorts of problems with helium leaks and with the thrusters. Now, obviously, space is hard. It's not always as straightforward as this. But I think The Guardian put it very, very well a few days ago. Boeing have lost control of a narrative now. It very much looks like whatever Boeing do goes wrong. And that's also quite unfair, because Boeing is this kind of, I'd say monstrous, this enormous organisation that has, offices and subsidiaries all around the world. And while they may have problems in Seattle with their commercial airliners, that doesn't necessarily mean they have problems across the rest of the organisation. Boeing do some very, very good stuff with defence, world leading. They're creating the now Ghost Bat aircraft. They're doing some wonderful work there. So you can't tar the whole organisation with the same brush. But the point is that he's going to come in dealing with PR crisis after PR crisis after PR crisis. He's going to have to turn around the culture. He's going to have to sort out the kind of an engineering thing. And he's have to be the face that sells this as well. He needs to be a charismatic person that can sell this to their customers, because they're going to have a lot of angry airline CEOs wondering where their planes are. So it's going to be a monumentally difficult job he's inheriting here.
Yeah, and it seems like, I guess, in terms of these astronauts, because it is Boeing, they ain't going.
I knew that there was. I knew straight away that you were teeing up. You were teeing up a pun or a play on words. Yeah.
Well, look. I mean, one way or another, these astronauts are going to get home eventually, because at some point they will have to deorbit the space station.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So eventually, one way or another, they will come back down to Earth. In one piece, depends.
Yes. Right, have we got? We're on 47 minutes for this show. We've probably got time for one more quick story. Have we got anything else we want to bring up? Any shout outs? Any comments?
Shout outs or comments?
Anything,
we've got the RAF has got its first Triton. That's nice.
Yeah, that's
we
nice.
like Tritons.
Excellent.
They've unveiled the first Triton MQ-4C remotely piloted aircraft system at RAF base Tyndall. It's going to go into service complementing the crewed Poseidon fleet, and it's this long, high altitude, long endurance drone. Essentially,
it's a sexy looking aircraft.
It is. It's going to give persistent surveillance across the maritime approaches.
It's a spy aircraft basically. And what makes it unique is its range is extraordinary. It can fly for a very, very, very long time, and obviously it's a drone as well. So this is a quite a big deal to add to the RAF fleet.
Good news as well from another collapsed airline. Air Vanuatu looks set to start bringing back some domestic flights. These will be scheduled charter flights. So these won't be international. I dare say they'll be sort of island hopping things. But the liquidators are looking to get flights back up and running because, like Rex, Air Vanuatu is kind of an essential service for the people of Vanuatu. They need these flights to get around the islands, reliably, and so if and when these flights come back, which EY is saying that they will be doing sometime this week, then that is good news for the people of Vanuatu, and we hope that they are.
Do you reckon we've got many listeners and viewers from Vanuatu? Bear in mind we have people from Antarctica.
Yeah, so I mean, if you are listening from Vanuatu, hello.
How do we say hello in the local language?
It's a very good question. While you look that up, there's going to be further details on the flights, including schedule and booking process, shared shortly. Pre-liquidation tickets are not going to be accepted for the flights. The administrators said date for commencement of full domestic operations will be set once the necessary requirements have been satisfied. They're critical infrastructure for the 300,000 people across more than 60 islands in Vanuatu. Timing of resumption of international operations yet to be determined.
Well, I've had a look, and Wikipedia, which is where we do most of our research for our stories, comes from. It says that there are three official languages, one of which, the main one, is English.